Springs, Arkansas.
Hi, what's your name? You know my name.
Adrenaline junkie Shayna Richardson, 21, is about to attempt her first solo skydive.
All right, Shayna.
Shayna's husband, Rick West, was also her jump instructor.
Gross.
I was very confident that, that she was well prepared for this.
Rick has a helmet camera
Hi, Shayna.
to capture Shayna's jump. Together, they will free fall from an altitude of 11,000 feet, more than 2 miles high. At first, things go great.
We exited the plane well, and she did a perfect dive.
Rick and Shayna are plummeting to Earth at terminal velocity, 120 miles per hour. After 30 seconds of freefall, Shayna pulls the ripcord.
And as you see in the video, I say, I had no idea at this time that she was in any kind of trouble until I look up.
What Rick sees fills him with horror. On her very first jump, his wife's main parachute has failed. Desperate, Shayna releases it and tries her reserve.
And then her reserve didn't work out so well.
Unable to help, Rick realizes he is watching what will be his wife's final moments.
Shayna is spinning out of control.
8,000 feet from the ground, Shayna's reserve parachute is tangled. She is now plummeting uncontrollably towards the ground at over 70 feet per second.
Panic sets in. She kept spinning and spinning. And the closer and closer we get, I'm seeing cars, semis, the road, buildings she was heading right into.
Helpless, Rick can only watch as Shayna spins towards certain death.
It was horrible for me. It was just a sickening feeling.
To Rick's horror, Shayna slams directly into a parking lot.
I was for sure she was dead. We're going to be dead really quick. And as soon as I landed, I turned the camera off, and I was just trying to get to her in time to tell her that I love her and I'm sorry. She was actually laying in a pool of blood. Her bottom lip had been busted, peeled out, split above her nose, was wide open. You could almost see the bone.
But something miraculous has happened.
I really did firmly believe that I was going to die.
Despite smashing into asphalt from a height of 2 miles, Shayna is somehow alive.
My face hit a split second before the rest of my body did. The doctors described my facial fractures as kind of an eggshell effect. I broke pretty much every bone in my face, my ocular sockets, my sinus cavity. I knocked out the front 5 teeth in my mouth, so they had to completely rebuild my face. I broke my pelvis in 3 places. I broke my right leg.
Shayna's doctors can't comprehend how she survived her fall, but then their jaws drop even lower. Shayna's not the only survivor.
The very first thing I remember hearing from the doctors was about the baby.
Unknown to both Shayna and Rick, she's pregnant. Miraculously, both mother and baby survive. Their son, Tanner, is now 5. Somehow, this remarkable story has a happy ending, but the doctors are still trying to figure it out.
The doctors in that hospital just said, this is amazing. This is a miracle. I don't understand.
So how are Shayna and her unborn child able to survive such an unbelievable fall? What had happened that saved their lives? Dr. Chris Hart is an expert in aviation accident investigation. He's extensively studied Shayna's accident and has reached a controversial conclusion.
I think the way she hit the ground is critically important for why she survived.
It's believed that Shayna face planted into the ground. But Hart disagrees.
Looking at the video, I don't believe she hit the ground face first. Clearly, she's at about a 45 to 60 degree angle. So when she finally makes contact with the ground, she contacts feet first, then legs, then side, and then finally head. The injuries to her pelvis and to her legs are very common when someone lands feet first. If it's a head first injury, you typically don't see those types of injuries.
Hart believes that the angle of Shayna's fall was critical to her survival, as it enabled her to inadvertently perform a skydiving safety technique.
I think just the laws of physics dictated that the way her body hit was very similar to a parachute landing fall. The parachute landing fall is a technique for improving the odds of surviving a hard landing without injury. The technique is essentially to distribute the force of impact over 5 body points. You start with contacting on the balls of the feet, and then the calves, then the thighs, then the hips, and then the side of the back. You can think of the parachute landing fall as almost being like a bumper on a car. The head is what you want to protect. The body acts as the shock absorber.
But what about the damage to Shayna's face? How could a successful parachute landing fall have resulted in such horrific injuries?
Even though she didn't hit face first, her body was traveling at a very high rate of speed. She sustained injuries to every part of her body that hit the ground. Her face was probably the last thing to hit the ground, but it was still moving fast enough to cause some pretty serious injuries. Given her lack of training, it's very fortunate that Shayna executed what was very similar to a parachute landing fall. Had she not done that, she almost certainly would have perished. She could consider herself very fortunate.
Did the accidental execution of the parachute landing fall save Shayna's life? Or is the explanation beyond the understanding of science?
She was exempt from the laws of gravity.
No longer can this be swept on.
Every skydiver's nightmare. When her parachutes fail, she slams into the ground from 11,000 feet. But amazingly, Shayna survives. How? Sophie Burnham is an author. She believes Shayna's survival was, quite literally, a miracle.
To me, her survival is incomprehensible, except by divine intervention. It had to be the hand of an angel. She was exempt from the laws of gravity.
We've all heard of angels, but let's just make sure we're on the same page as Sophie.
Angels are messengers of the divine, and they can come in any form. They come to the innocent, to people whose work is not yet finished on this plane of existence. Angels save people from possible death in any way that it can be done. Sometimes it's by deflecting a bullet, and sometimes it's by preventing a car accident. They can change all the physical laws of the universe.
No doubt they do good work, but how exactly did an angel save Shayna?
It is not difficult for me to believe that an angel carried Shayna down or broke her fall so that she would not fall as swiftly as she should have.
It's an interesting theory, but is it supported by scientific proof?
Lots of times, miracles occur with scientific explanations and are just as miraculous. I am sure that some people completely dismiss the idea that an angel could save Shayna's life. I can't imagine what would have happened if an angel had not saved Shayna that day. There would have been her body splattered over the parking lot in a gory, bloody, disgusting, horrible, horrible accident. It would have been ghastly.
Wow, this is incredible. Instead of being splattered all over the parking lot, Sophie thinks an angel swooped down at the last moment, somehow taking hold of Shayna, breaking her fall. Could this really be possible? Regardless of your beliefs, one has to admit that Shayna's story is, well, miraculous. But could a guardian angel have slowed Shayna's fall, sparing her life, the life of her unborn son? And if so, don't they deserve some thanks? John Leach is a survival psychologist with the Norwegian Armed Forces. He believes the key to Shayna's survival lies in a theory that's far more down to earth.
If a person is falling without a parachute, after about 12 seconds they'll reach the maximum rate of descent. And it doesn't matter how long they're falling for, they will stay at 120 miles an hour. If Shayna had hit the ground at normal terminal velocity of 120 miles an hour, she would have had a very small chance of surviving that.
But if her chances of surviving were so low, how is it that Shayna and Tanner are still with us?
You can see from the video that although the parachute was malfunctioning, it wasn't completely dysfunctional. In other words, it was still acting as a sort of parachute and providing a degree of drag. So instead of hitting the ground at 120 miles an hour, which is a terminal velocity for somebody travelling without a parachute, she hit the ground at 50 miles an hour according to the records.
Was Shayna's survival connected to how fast she hit the ground? Or did something else save her?
Age plays a role in survival for various reasons, and a number of studies involving analysis of, for example, road traffic accidents at different speeds shows that one of the best ages for surviving an impact at 50 miles an hour is Shayna's age, so somewhere between the late teens and early 20s.
For Leach, the final factor in Shayna's survival is the angle of impact, though with a very different take to Dr. Chris Hart.
I don't think you should be deploying any parachute landing technique. The parachute was moving her into a more horizontal position, and the injuries that she sustained is consistent with that type of impact on the ground. The fact that she hit to the ground more or less horizontally rather than on her head or through her feet also increased the chances of survival.
For Leach, the combination of a partially effective parachute, Shayna's age, and landing almost flat to the ground is enough to leave her battered, but still breathing.
All these factors together all contribute to her chances of surviving. So there's nothing miraculous about it, it's straightforward physics.
Can Shayna's remarkable survival be explained by physics? Or did divine intervention play a part? Was she saved by a higher power? Or did she just get lucky and deploy the parachute landing fall? For now, it will remain a head-scratcher that's most definitely weird. Oh, what? In upstate New York, a man is incinerated